Question 1. When evaluating potential improvements to the Jafara University entrance exam's administrative processes, which of the following best aligns with the absolute priority of adhering solely to the regulatory framework, laws, and guidelines specified for this exam? Option A. Introducing a more flexible timeline for candidate registration and document submission, allowing for greater applicant convenience, even if it deviates from the fixed deadlines stipulated in the Jafara University entrance exam's official guidelines. Option B. Conducting a comprehensive review of the current examination administration procedures to identify bottlenecks and inefficiencies, and then proposing modifications that demonstrably enhance speed and reduce resource utilization, strictly within the confines of the Jafara University entrance exam's established legal and regulatory framework. Option C. Adopting a new, faster method for grading essay components of the exam, drawing from advanced AI grading tools used in other academic institutions, assuming this aligns with the spirit of modernizing the examination process. Option D. Implementing a streamlined digital submission system for candidate applications based on general industry best practices for efficiency, without prior explicit confirmation that this method is permitted by Jafara University entrance exam regulations. Correct answer is D. Implementing a streamlined digital submission system for candidate applications based on general industry best practices for efficiency, without prior explicit confirmation that this method is permitted by Jafara University entrance exam regulations. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge because the Jafara University entrance exam's regulatory framework, laws, and guidelines are paramount and must be strictly adhered to. Any deviation, even if seemingly efficient or logical from a general process optimization perspective, can lead to non-compliance and invalidation of the exam process. The core of the challenge lies in balancing the desire for improved efficiency with the absolute requirement of following the specified Jafara University entrance exam regulations. Careful judgment is required to ensure that any proposed process optimization does not inadvertently violate these specific rules. The correct approach involves a thorough review and understanding of the Jafara University entrance exam's existing regulations and guidelines concerning the examination process. This approach prioritizes identifying areas where optimization can occur within the established legal and regulatory boundaries. It requires a systematic analysis of each step of the current process against the explicit requirements of the Jafara University entrance exam framework. The justification for this approach is rooted in the absolute priority of jurisdiction compliance. The Jafara University entrance exam regulations are the sole governing authority for this exam. Therefore, any optimization must be designed to enhance efficiency without compromising adherence to these specific rules. This ensures the integrity, fairness, and legal validity of the entrance examination. An incorrect approach that focuses solely on general best practices for process optimization, without first consulting and integrating the Jafara University entrance exam's specific regulatory framework, is professionally unacceptable. This failure stems from a disregard for the absolute priority of jurisdiction compliance. Such an approach risks introducing changes that, while potentially efficient in other contexts, directly contravene the Jafara University entrance exam's established procedures, thereby violating its specific laws and guidelines. Another incorrect approach might involve implementing changes based on assumptions about what the regulations might allow, rather than on a definitive understanding of the Jafara University entrance exam's explicit rules. This is a failure of due diligence and a direct violation of the requirement to follow only the specified framework. It introduces uncertainty and potential noncompliance. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should begin with an unwavering commitment to understanding and adhering to the specified regulatory framework. This involves actively seeking out, reading, and comprehending all relevant laws, regulations, and guidelines for the Jafara University entrance exam. Only after this foundational understanding is established should one consider potential optimizations. Any proposed optimization must then be rigorously evaluated against these specific regulations to ensure full compliance. If a proposed optimization appears to conflict with the regulations, the priority must always be to align the optimization with the regulatory requirements, or to abandon the optimization if it cannot be reconciled. Question 2. Cost-benefit analysis shows that implementing a new, more complex admission screening process for the Jafara University entrance exam could significantly reduce the number of applicants, thereby lowering administrative costs associated with processing applications and administering the exam. However, this process might also inadvertently deter highly capable students who are less familiar with such rigorous pre-screening. Which approach to impact assessment best aligns with the principles of responsible university admissions and the Jafara University entrance exam framework? Option A. A comprehensive impact assessment that evaluates the effects on applicant pool quality, diversity, administrative workload, and the university's reputation, alongside financial considerations. Option B. An impact assessment based on the opinions of the admissions committee members regarding their perceived workload reduction. Option C. An impact assessment focused solely on the ease of implementation and the reduction of immediate administrative tasks, without considering broader consequences. Option D. A purely financial impact assessment that prioritizes immediate cost reductions and administrative efficiency above all other factors. Correct answer is A. A comprehensive impact assessment that evaluates the effects on applicant pool quality, diversity, administrative workload, and the university's reputation, alongside financial considerations. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge because it requires balancing the potential benefits of a new initiative against its associated costs, while strictly adhering to the regulatory framework of Jafara University's entrance exam guidelines. The challenge lies in accurately assessing both tangible and intangible impacts, ensuring that the decision-making process is transparent, justifiable, and aligned with the university's objectives for admitting qualified candidates. Careful judgment is required to avoid biases and to ensure that the chosen approach serves the best interests of the university and prospective students. The correct approach involves a comprehensive impact assessment that considers a wide range of factors beyond immediate financial implications. This includes evaluating the potential effects on student diversity, the academic rigor of the program, the administrative burden, and the long-term reputation of Jafara University. This approach is correct because it aligns with the principles of responsible decision-making and good governance, which are implicitly expected within any educational institution's operational framework, especially when establishing or modifying entrance exam procedures. It ensures that all relevant stakeholders and potential consequences are considered, leading to a more robust and ethically sound decision. An incorrect approach would be to solely focus on the immediate cost savings without considering the broader implications. This failure to conduct a thorough impact assessment could lead to unintended negative consequences, such as a decline in the quality of admitted students or a reduction in diversity, which would undermine the university's educational mission. Another incorrect approach would be to prioritize the perceived ease of implementation over potential long-term benefits or risks. This could result in a decision that is administratively convenient in the short term, but detrimental to the university's strategic goals and academic standards. A third incorrect approach would be to rely on anecdotal evidence or personal opinions rather than a structured assessment, which lacks the objectivity and rigor required for significant policy decisions within an academic institution. Professionals should employ a structured decision-making framework that begins with clearly defining the problem or opportunity. This is followed by identifying all potential impacts, both positive and negative, across various dimensions: academic, financial, social, administrative. Next, they should gather relevant data and evidence to support the assessment of these impacts. Finally, they should evaluate the options based on the comprehensive impact assessment, considering the alignment with the university's mission, values, and regulatory requirements, before making a recommendation or decision. Question 3. Analysis of the potential partnership between Jafara University and a private educational services company for the administration and content development of its entrance examination, considering the university's stated commitment to academic excellence and equitable access for all prospective students. What is the most appropriate approach to assess this proposal? Option A. Accept the proposal based on the company's reputation in the market, without conducting an in-depth review of its alignment with Jafara University's specific entrance exam requirements and ethical standards. Option B. Conduct a comprehensive impact assessment focusing on the educational integrity, fairness, and accessibility of the entrance examination, ensuring full compliance with Jafara University's academic regulations and any applicable Ministry of Higher Education guidelines. Option C. Prioritize the financial benefits and revenue generation potential of the partnership, assuming that increased funding will indirectly support academic improvements. Option D. Expedite the partnership agreement to quickly leverage the company's resources and expertise, with a plan to address any potential issues after implementation. The correct answer is B. Conduct a comprehensive impact assessment focusing on the educational integrity, fairness, and accessibility of the entrance examination, ensuring full compliance with Jafara University's academic regulations and any applicable Ministry of Higher Education guidelines. Explanation: this scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent conflict between the university's immediate financial needs and the long-term integrity of its academic programs. The decision-maker must balance the potential for increased revenue against the risk of compromising educational quality and the university's reputation, all within the specific regulatory framework of Jafara University's entrance exam guidelines. Careful judgment is required to ensure that any partnership aligns with the university's mission and ethical standards. The correct approach involves a thorough impact assessment that prioritizes the educational implications and adherence to Jafara University's entrance exam regulations. This means evaluating how the proposed partnership might affect the fairness, accessibility, and academic rigor of the entrance examination process. Specifically, it requires examining whether the partnership could introduce biases, compromise the security of examination materials, or dilute the academic standards that the entrance exam is designed to uphold, as stipulated by Jafara University's internal academic policies and any relevant Ministry of Higher Education directives governing entrance examinations. An incorrect approach that focuses solely on the financial benefits without considering the educational impact fails to uphold the university's primary mission. This approach would be ethically unsound and potentially in violation of Jafara University's academic integrity policies, which mandate that all admissions processes, including entrance exams, must be fair and academically sound. Another incorrect approach that prioritizes speed of implementation over due diligence risks, overlooking critical compliance issues or negative consequences for the student body and the university's standing. This would be a failure to adhere to responsible governance principles expected of educational institutions. A third incorrect approach that dismisses potential negative feedback from faculty or students without proper investigation, ignores valuable stakeholder input, and the importance of transparency and consensus building in academic decision-making, potentially leading to internal discord and a loss of trust. Professionals in such situations should employ a decision-making framework that begins with clearly defining the objectives and constraints, including all relevant Jafara University regulations and ethical considerations. This is followed by identifying and evaluating all potential courses of action, considering their impact on all stakeholders, particularly students and the academic community. The next step involves assessing each option against the established criteria, prioritizing adherence to regulatory frameworks and ethical principles. Finally, the chosen course of action should be implemented with a plan for ongoing monitoring and evaluation to ensure continued compliance and effectiveness. Question 4. The monitoring system demonstrates a pattern of unusual student engagement metrics for a specific course, deviating significantly from historical averages and established benchmarks. This deviation could indicate either a technical issue with the system or a potential breach of academic integrity by students. Which of the following represents the most appropriate initial action to take in accordance with Jafara University's entrance exam regulatory framework for handling such discrepancies? Option A. Ignore the anomaly as it is likely a temporary system fluctuation and not indicative of a serious issue. Option B. Conduct a thorough technical review of the monitoring system's functionality and data logging to rule out system errors before escalating. Option C. Attempt to manually adjust the student engagement metrics within the system to align with historical averages. Option D. Immediately report the observed pattern as a confirmed instance of academic misconduct to the Dean of Academic Affairs. The correct answer is D. Immediately report the observed pattern as a confirmed instance of academic misconduct to the Dean of Academic Affairs. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge because it requires an individual to interpret complex data from a monitoring system and apply it to a specific regulatory context without overstepping their defined responsibilities or making assumptions that could lead to noncompliance. The core difficulty lies in distinguishing between observation, interpretation, and actionable regulatory reporting or intervention. The Jafara University Entrance Exam Framework emphasizes adherence to established procedures and clear communication channels. The correct approach involves a systematic process of data verification, contextualization within Jafara University-specific academic regulations, and appropriate escalation. This approach is correct because it aligns with the principles of due diligence and responsible data handling mandated by academic oversight bodies. Specifically, it ensures that any identified discrepancies are not acted upon unilaterally, but are instead brought to the attention of the relevant academic or administrative department for their expert review and decision-making. This upholds the integrity of the academic process and prevents potential misinterpretations or procedural errors. An incorrect approach that involves immediately flagging the system's output as a definitive breach of academic integrity, without further verification, fails to acknowledge the possibility of technical glitches or misconfigurations within the monitoring system itself. This bypasses established protocols for investigating potential academic misconduct and could lead to unwarranted accusations or disciplinary actions, violating principles of fairness and due process. Another incorrect approach, which is to ignore the anomaly altogether, represents a failure in the duty of care to maintain academic standards and could allow genuine breaches to go unaddressed, thereby undermining the university's commitment to academic excellence. A third incorrect approach, which is to attempt to rectify the perceived issue directly within the system without authorization, constitutes an unauthorized intervention that could corrupt data, disrupt operations, and violate IT governance policies. Professionals in such situations should employ a decision-making framework that prioritizes verification, adherence to established protocols, and clear communication. This involves 1. Acknowledging the data presented by the monitoring system. 2. Critically assessing the data for potential errors or anomalies. 3. Consulting relevant university regulations and guidelines to understand the implications of the observed data. 4. Escalating the findings to the designated authority or department responsible for investigating such matters, providing them with all relevant information. 5. Awaiting further instructions or decisions from the appropriate authorities before taking any direct action. Question 5. Benchmark analysis indicates that Jafara University's admissions committee is facing pressure to meet enrollment targets for the upcoming academic year. A particular applicant, while meeting the minimum academic requirements, has several areas of concern in their application that would typically lead to rejection under standard review. However, this applicant's family has indicated a strong willingness to make a substantial donation to the university if the applicant is admitted. How should the admissions committee proceed to ensure adherence to Jafara University's regulatory framework and ethical guidelines? Option A. Inform the applicant's family that their donation would be favorably considered during the admissions review process, thereby linking the donation directly to the admission decision. Option B. Expedite the review process for this applicant, focusing on their strengths and downplaying any weaknesses to facilitate their admission and secure the potential donation. Option C. Conduct a thorough and objective review of the applicant's profile against all established admission criteria, ensuring that any decision is based solely on merit and adherence to university policy, irrespective of potential financial contributions. Option D. Create a separate, less stringent review pathway for applicants who express a willingness to make significant financial contributions, allowing for admission based on factors beyond standard academic merit. Correct answer is C. Conduct a thorough and objective review of the applicant's profile against all established admission criteria, ensuring that any decision is based solely on merit and adherence to university policy, irrespective of potential financial contributions. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent conflict between the university's immediate financial needs and the long-term integrity of its admissions process. The admissions committee is tasked with upholding the university's standards and ensuring a fair evaluation for all applicants, while simultaneously facing pressure to meet enrollment targets. This requires a delicate balance, prioritizing adherence to established admission policies and ethical conduct over short-term financial gains. The correct approach involves a thorough and objective review of all applications, strictly adhering to the Jafara University's published admission criteria and guidelines. This ensures fairness and equity for all prospective students, regardless of their background or potential financial contribution. This approach is ethically sound and aligns with the principles of academic integrity and transparency expected of an educational institution. It upholds the university's reputation by demonstrating a commitment to merit-based admissions and preventing any perception of impropriety or preferential treatment. An incorrect approach that prioritizes meeting enrollment targets by overlooking or downplaying deficiencies in an applicant's profile, especially when influenced by potential financial contributions, constitutes a significant ethical failure. This undermines the fairness of the admissions process and can lead to the admission of unqualified students, thereby lowering academic standards and damaging the university's reputation. It also creates a precedent for future compromises, eroding trust in the admissions committee's impartiality. Another incorrect approach, which involves creating a separate, less rigorous review process for applicants from specific backgrounds or those who express a willingness to make significant financial contributions, is also ethically unacceptable. This practice introduces bias and discrimination, violating the principle of equal opportunity. It suggests that financial capacity can override academic merit, which is contrary to the core values of higher education. A third incorrect approach, which involves selectively highlighting an applicant's strengths while deliberately omitting or minimizing their weaknesses to justify admission, is a form of misrepresentation. This is ethically dishonest and compromises the integrity of the admissions decision. It fails to provide a complete and accurate assessment of the applicant's suitability for the program. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a clear understanding and strict adherence to the Jafara University's admission policies and ethical guidelines. When faced with conflicting pressures, professionals must prioritize integrity, fairness, and transparency. This involves documenting all decisions, ensuring that evaluations are based solely on established criteria, and seeking guidance from senior university officials or ethics committees if ambiguity or pressure arises. The focus should always be on the long-term well-being and reputation of the institution, which is best served by upholding rigorous and equitable admission standards. Question 6. Research into the Jafara University entrance exam process has revealed that a comprehensive risk assessment is crucial for evaluating applicant suitability. Which of the following approaches best balances the need for thorough evaluation with the ethical considerations of applicant privacy and fairness? Option A. Mandatory, in-depth background checks and psychological evaluations for all applicants to preemptively identify any potential risks. Option B. A holistic assessment considering academic achievements, personal statements, extracurricular activities, and references, with further investigation triggered only by specific documented concerns. Option C. An assessment based solely on the outcome of a single, unstructured interview with each applicant. Option D. A primary reliance on standardized academic test scores as the sole determinant of applicant risk and suitability. The correct answer is B. A holistic assessment considering academic achievements, personal statements, extracurricular activities, and references, with further investigation triggered only by specific, documented concerns. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge because it requires the applicant to balance the university's need for comprehensive risk assessment with the ethical obligation to protect sensitive personal information. The Jafara University entrance exam regulations likely emphasize a thorough understanding of risk management principles as applied to academic admissions, but also implicitly or explicitly uphold principles of data privacy and fairness. The challenge lies in identifying a risk assessment approach that is both effective in identifying potential issues related to applicant suitability and integrity, without being overly intrusive or discriminatory. The correct approach involves a multifaceted risk assessment that considers a broad range of factors, including academic performance, extracurricular involvement, personal statements, and potentially references, while ensuring that any further investigation is proportionate, justified, and conducted with due regard for privacy. This aligns with the likely principles of fairness and due diligence expected in academic admissions processes. Regulatory frameworks for educational institutions typically mandate a balanced approach, requiring institutions to make informed decisions while respecting individual rights. The ethical imperative is to avoid prejudgment and to gather information in a manner that is both objective and respectful. An approach that focuses solely on academic scores is incorrect because it fails to account for other crucial aspects of an applicant's profile that might indicate suitability or potential risks, such as integrity or motivation. This narrow focus can lead to overlooking valuable candidates or failing to identify potential issues that academic scores alone do not reveal. An approach that prioritizes extensive background checks on all applicants, regardless of initial indicators, is incorrect as it is likely to be overly intrusive, resource-intensive, and potentially discriminatory, violating principles of proportionality and privacy. It also risks creating a perception of distrust towards all applicants. An approach that relies exclusively on subjective interviews without any objective data points is incorrect because it is prone to bias and inconsistency, making the risk assessment unreliable and potentially unfair. While interviews can be valuable, they should complement, not replace, a more comprehensive and objective assessment. Professionals should employ a decision-making framework that begins with understanding the scope and objectives of the risk assessment as defined by the Jafara University Entrance Exam regulations. This involves identifying potential risks relevant to the admissions process, such as academic preparedness, integrity, and alignment with the university's values. Subsequently, they should evaluate various assessment methodologies, considering their effectiveness, efficiency, ethical implications, and compliance with regulatory requirements. The chosen approach should be one that allows for a balanced consideration of multiple factors, is proportionate in its information gathering, and upholds principles of fairness and privacy. Question 7. Process analysis reveals that during the Jafara University entrance exam preparation period, a fellow applicant offers to share answers to a practice test that closely mirrors the actual exam format, claiming it will significantly boost the candidate's score. The candidate is aware that such sharing is strictly prohibited by the Jafara University's academic integrity policy for entrance examinations. What is the most ethically and regulatorily sound course of action for the candidate? Option A. Ignore the offer and proceed with independent preparation without reporting the incident. Option B. Accept the shared answers, believing that it is a common practice and will help secure a place at the university. Option C. Discuss the offer with the fellow applicant, suggesting they only use the information for personal study and not share it further. Option D. Politely decline the offer of shared answers and report the incident to the Jafara University admissions office. The correct answer is D. Politely decline the offer of shared answers and report the incident to the Jafara University admissions office. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent conflict between a student's desire for academic success and the university's commitment to academic integrity. The pressure to perform well on a crucial entrance exam, coupled with the availability of potentially unauthorized assistance, creates an ethical tightrope. Navigating this requires a strong understanding of the Jafara University's academic regulations and ethical guidelines. The correct approach involves upholding the principles of academic honesty and integrity as stipulated by Jafara University's entrance exam regulations. This means refusing any form of unauthorized assistance, even if it appears to offer a shortcut to success. The university's framework emphasizes fair competition and the accurate assessment of a candidate's knowledge and abilities. Providing or accepting assistance that misrepresents a candidate's true capabilities directly violates these core principles and undermines the validity of the entrance examination process. An incorrect approach would be to accept or provide the offered assistance. This action constitutes academic misconduct, a serious offense under Jafara University's regulations. It not only compromises the integrity of the examination, but also devalues the efforts of other candidates who adhere to the rules. Furthermore, such an action could lead to severe penalties, including disqualification from the entrance exam and potential future academic repercussions. Another incorrect approach would be to ignore the offer without reporting it. While not directly participating in misconduct, failing to report a breach of academic integrity allows such practices to persist, indirectly undermining the university's commitment to a fair and honest assessment process. Professionals facing similar situations should employ a decision-making framework that prioritizes ethical conduct and adherence to established regulations. This involves 1. Identifying the ethical dilemma and potential conflicts. 2. Consulting relevant university policies and codes of conduct. 3. Evaluating the potential consequences of each course of action. 4. Choosing the option that best upholds academic integrity and institutional values, even if it presents a more challenging path. In this case, reporting the offer of assistance to the appropriate university authority is the most responsible and ethically sound decision. Question 8. Comparative studies suggest that maintaining the integrity of university entrance examinations is paramount for ensuring equitable access to higher education. Considering the specific regulatory framework of the Jafara University entrance exam, which mandates strict confidentiality and objective evaluation for all applicants, what is the most appropriate course of action for an individual who is involved in the examination process and discovers that a close relative is also an applicant? Option A. Allow for some flexibility in the examination rules for the relative, such as granting extra time or overlooking minor errors, given the familial connection. Option B. Discreetly provide the relative with a general overview of the types of topics that will be covered in the examination to help them prepare better. Option C. Offer to review the relative's examination paper after it has been graded to identify any areas where minor improvements could be made to ensure a passing score. Option D. Strictly adhere to all Jafara University entrance exam regulations regarding examination security, content confidentiality, and objective grading, without disclosing any familial relationship or offering any preferential treatment. The correct answer is D. Strictly adhere to all Jafara University entrance exam regulations regarding examination security, content confidentiality, and objective grading, without disclosing any familial relationship or offering any preferential treatment. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge because it requires an individual to navigate the ethical and regulatory landscape of academic admissions at Jafara University, specifically concerning the integrity of the entrance examination process. The challenge lies in balancing the university's commitment to fair and merit-based admissions with potential external pressures or personal relationships that could compromise this integrity. Careful judgment is required to uphold the university's standards and ensure that all applicants are evaluated equitably, without bias or undue influence. The correct approach involves strictly adhering to the established Jafara University entrance exam regulations. This means ensuring that all examination materials are handled with the utmost confidentiality, that the examination process is conducted in a secure and controlled environment, and that all grading is performed objectively according to predefined criteria. This approach is correct because it directly aligns with the regulatory framework governing university admissions, which prioritizes fairness, transparency, and academic merit. Upholding these regulations is an ethical imperative for any member of the university community involved in the admissions process, as it safeguards the reputation of the institution and the value of its degrees. An incorrect approach would be to provide advance information about the exam content to a relative. This action directly violates the principle of confidentiality and fairness enshrined in academic regulations. It constitutes a breach of trust and creates an unfair advantage for the relative, undermining the integrity of the entrance examination and the admissions process. Such an action could lead to disciplinary measures, including dismissal from the university and potential legal repercussions, and would damage the reputation of both the individual and the institution. Another incorrect approach would be to alter the grading of a relative's exam paper to ensure a passing score. This is a clear act of academic dishonesty and a violation of the university's commitment to objective assessment. It misrepresents the applicant's true academic standing and compromises the validity of the entrance examination results. This behavior erodes trust in the university's evaluation system and is ethically reprehensible. A third incorrect approach would be to overlook minor irregularities in a relative's examination submission, such as incomplete sections or slightly late submission, with the justification of familial connection. While seemingly minor, such leniency deviates from the established rules and regulations that apply to all candidates equally. It introduces bias into the evaluation process and undermines the principle of equal treatment, which is fundamental to fair academic admissions. Professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a clear understanding of the Jafara University entrance exam regulations and the university's code of ethics. When faced with a situation that could compromise these standards, a professional should first identify the potential conflict of interest or ethical dilemma. They should then consult the relevant regulations and guidelines to determine the appropriate course of action. If there is any doubt, seeking guidance from a supervisor or the relevant university department, e.g., admissions office, ethics committee, is crucial. The ultimate decision must prioritize adherence to regulations, fairness to all applicants, and the integrity of the academic process. Question 9. The performance metrics show a slight decline in the average score of admitted students for the current intake, and the admissions committee is under pressure to improve this for the next cycle. During the review of a promising applicant's file, a discrepancy is noted between their submitted high school transcripts and a standardized test score report, suggesting a potential for grade inflation or an error in one of the documents. The applicant's overall profile, aside from this discrepancy, is strong and would contribute positively to the university's average performance metrics if admitted. What is the most ethically responsible course of action? Option A. Immediately reject the applicant due to the discrepancy, without further investigation, to maintain the strictest adherence to document verification. Option B. Admit the applicant but flag the discrepancy for future monitoring, with the understanding that this will help improve the university's average performance metrics. Option C. Initiate a formal verification process for the conflicting documents, potentially contacting the applicant for clarification or the issuing institutions for confirmation, before making a final admission decision. Option D. Proceed with admitting the applicant after a thorough review of their overall profile, assuming the discrepancy is a minor administrative error that will not significantly impact their academic success. The correct answer is D. Proceed with admitting the applicant after a thorough review of their overall profile, assuming the discrepancy is a minor administrative error that will not significantly impact their academic success. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge because it requires balancing the pursuit of academic excellence and institutional reputation with the ethical obligation to ensure fair and transparent assessment processes. Pressure to achieve high performance metrics can inadvertently lead to compromised ethical standards if not managed carefully. The core of the challenge lies in recognizing that the integrity of the university's admissions process is paramount and cannot be sacrificed for short-term gains in performance indicators. The correct approach involves a commitment to upholding the established admission criteria and ethical guidelines of Jafara University. This means rigorously verifying the authenticity of all submitted documents and ensuring that the admission process is free from any form of bias or undue influence. The justification for this approach is rooted in the fundamental ethical principles of fairness, integrity, and transparency, which are implicitly or explicitly embedded in the regulatory framework governing university admissions. Adhering to these principles safeguards the reputation of Jafara University and ensures that admitted students are genuinely qualified, contributing to a robust academic environment. An incorrect approach would be to overlook or downplay discrepancies in applicant documentation due to pressure to meet enrollment targets or maintain high average performance metrics. This failure to uphold due diligence violates the ethical duty to ensure fair competition and admission based on merit. Such an approach risks admitting unqualified students, potentially undermining the academic standards of the university and eroding public trust. Another incorrect approach would be to selectively apply admission criteria, favoring certain applicants over others based on factors not related to their academic qualifications or potential. This constitutes a breach of fairness and impartiality, directly contravening the ethical imperative for equitable treatment of all applicants. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a clear understanding of the university's admission policies and ethical codes. When faced with ambiguous or potentially problematic situations, professionals should prioritize seeking clarification from relevant authorities within the university, such as the admissions committee or the ethics office. A systematic approach involving thorough verification, objective assessment, and documentation of all decisions is crucial. If discrepancies arise, The process should involve escalating the issue for review rather than making unilateral decisions that could compromise ethical standards. The ultimate goal is to ensure that all decisions are defensible, transparent, and aligned with the university's commitment to academic integrity. Question 10. Regulatory review indicates that Jafara University's entrance examination aims to assess an applicant's individual aptitude and knowledge base. During the examination, an applicant encounters a question they find particularly challenging and are unsure of the correct answer. They recall having discussed similar topics with a study group prior to the exam and believe they might remember a key concept discussed by a peer that could lead to the correct answer. What is the most appropriate course of action for the applicant to uphold the integrity of the Jafara University entrance exam? Option A. Discreetly attempt to access notes or external resources that might contain the answer discussed by the study group. Option B. Skip the question and focus on other sections of the exam, hoping to compensate for the missed points later. Option C. Attempt to recall and apply the concept discussed by the study group, believing it to be a form of learned knowledge. Option D. Answer the question based solely on their own understanding and knowledge, even if they are uncertain of the correctness. The correct answer is C. Attempt to recall and apply the concept discussed by the study group, believing it to be a form of learned knowledge. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent conflict between a student's desire to present their work and the university's established academic integrity policies. The pressure to succeed in a competitive entrance exam, coupled with the temptation to leverage external assistance, requires careful ethical judgment. The core issue revolves around ensuring that the submitted work genuinely reflects the applicant's own knowledge and understanding, as mandated by Jafara University's entrance examination guidelines. The correct approach involves the applicant independently completing all sections of the Jafara University entrance exam without any unauthorized assistance. This aligns directly with the university's commitment to academic honesty and fair assessment, as outlined in its entrance examination regulations. These regulations implicitly or explicitly prohibit plagiarism, collusion, and the use of external aids not permitted by the examination proctors. By adhering to these rules, the applicant demonstrates their genuine academic capabilities and respect for the examination process, which is crucial for admission. An incorrect approach would be to seek or utilize pre-prepared answers, or to collaborate with others during the exam. This constitutes academic misconduct, violating the principles of individual assessment and fair competition. Such actions undermine the validity of the examination results and demonstrate a lack of integrity, which Jafara University's entrance examination framework is designed to prevent. Another incorrect approach would be to misrepresent one's qualifications or to submit work that is not entirely original, as this directly contravenes the spirit and letter of academic honesty policies. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should begin with a thorough understanding of the specific rules and regulations governing the assessment. Applicants must prioritize integrity and self-reliance. If faced with uncertainty or pressure, the appropriate action is to seek clarification from the examination authorities or to proceed with the exam based solely on their own knowledge and the permitted resources. The long-term consequences of academic dishonesty, including potential disqualification and damage to reputation, far outweigh any perceived short-term benefits. Question 11. Consider a scenario where a prospective student, preparing for the Jafara University entrance exam, is approached by a friend who offers to provide them with leaked exam questions. The friend claims to have obtained these questions through unofficial channels and suggests that using them would guarantee a high score and admission. The prospective student is feeling immense pressure to succeed and is aware of the competitive nature of the entrance exam. What is the most ethically sound and professionally responsible course of action for the prospective student in this situation? Option A. Use the leaked exam questions to prepare, but only to understand the difficulty level and not to memorize answers. Option B. Politely but firmly refuse the friend's offer, explaining that academic integrity is paramount and that they wish to earn their place through honest effort. Option C. Report the friend's offer to the university administration immediately, without any prior discussion with the friend. Option D. Accept the leaked exam questions from the friend, as the pressure to gain admission is significant and this is a unique opportunity. Correct answer is B. Politely but firmly refuse the friend's offer, explaining that academic integrity is paramount and that they wish to earn their place through honest effort. Explanation: this scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent conflict between a student's desire for academic success and the university's commitment to academic integrity. The pressure to perform well on entrance exams can lead individuals to consider unethical shortcuts. Careful judgment is required to navigate this situation in a manner that upholds the principles of fairness and honesty, which are foundational to any educational institution. The correct approach involves recognizing the ethical implications of the situation and choosing to act with integrity. This means refusing to engage in any form of academic dishonesty, even if it means a potentially lower score or not gaining admission. This aligns with the Jafara University's commitment to academic integrity, which is implicitly understood to be a core value for all applicants. Upholding this principle ensures that the admission process is fair to all candidates and that the university admits students who have earned their place through legitimate means. This approach prioritizes long-term ethical conduct over short-term gain. An incorrect approach would be to accept the offer of assistance from the friend. This action constitutes academic dishonesty, a direct violation of the principles of fair play and integrity expected by Jafara University. It undermines the validity of the entrance exam and devalues the efforts of other honest applicants. Furthermore, engaging in such behavior, if discovered, could lead to severe consequences, including disqualification from the entrance exam and potential blacklisting from future admissions. Another incorrect approach would be to ignore the friend's offer but feel pressured to perform exceptionally well, leading to undue stress and potentially compromising well-being. While not directly dishonest, this approach fails to address the ethical dilemma presented by the friend's offer and can lead to unhealthy coping mechanisms. The university expects applicants to approach the exam with a balanced perspective, focusing on preparation rather than succumbing to external pressures or unethical suggestions. A third incorrect approach would be to report the friend to the university authorities without first attempting to dissuade them from their offer. While reporting misconduct is important, a more nuanced approach would involve first addressing the ethical issue directly with the friend, explaining the importance of academic integrity. This allows for an opportunity for the friend to reconsider their actions and demonstrates a proactive approach to upholding ethical standards. The professional decision-making process for similar situations involves several steps. First, identify the ethical dilemma. Second, consider the relevant principles and values, in this case, academic integrity and fairness. Third, evaluate the potential consequences of different actions. Fourth, choose the course of action that best aligns with ethical principles and institutional expectations. And finally, act with integrity and courage. Question 12. Market research demonstrates a significant demand for a new interdisciplinary program at Jafara University, with projections indicating high initial enrollment. The university's strategic plan emphasizes growth and diversification of academic offerings. However, preliminary internal discussions have raised concerns about the availability of qualified faculty, the adequacy of specialized laboratory equipment, and the potential for overlap with existing, less popular programs. Given these factors, which approach to assessing the risks associated with launching this new program is most professionally sound and aligned with responsible institutional governance? Option A. Focus the risk assessment primarily on the perceived popularity of the program and the enthusiasm of key academic departments, with less emphasis on detailed operational and financial feasibility studies. Option B. Prioritize the program launch if market research indicates strong student interest, assuming that any emerging challenges can be addressed reactively as they arise, given the university's overall financial stability. Option C. Proceed with the program launch based on the strong market demand and strategic growth imperative, deferring detailed risk mitigation planning until after initial enrollment is secured. Option D. Conduct a comprehensive risk assessment that systematically identifies, analyzes, and evaluates all potential risks: faculty, equipment, academic overlap, financial viability, reputational impact, developing specific mitigation strategies before committing to the program launch. The correct answer is C. Proceed with the program launch based on the strong market demand and strategic growth imperative, deferring detailed risk mitigation planning until after initial enrollment is secured. Explanation: this scenario presents a professional challenge because it requires balancing the university's strategic growth objectives with the ethical imperative to conduct thorough and unbiased risk assessments. Pressure to expand and attract new students can lead to a temptation to overlook or downplay potential risks associated with new programs. Careful judgment is required to ensure that decisions are based on sound analysis rather than expediency or optimistic projections. The correct approach involves a comprehensive and objective evaluation of all identified risks, considering their likelihood and potential impact on the university's reputation, financial stability, and academic integrity. This aligns with the Jafara University's commitment to responsible academic planning and resource allocation, as implicitly guided by principles of good governance and due diligence expected of educational institutions. A robust risk assessment process ensures that potential challenges are identified early, allowing for the development of mitigation strategies and informed decision-making, thereby safeguarding the university's long-term interests and its commitment to providing quality education. An approach that prioritizes immediate enrollment targets over a thorough risk assessment is ethically flawed because it potentially exposes the university to unforeseen negative consequences. This could include financial losses from underperforming programs, reputational damage if academic standards are compromised, or even legal challenges if contractual obligations are not met due to inadequate planning. Such an approach fails to uphold the duty of care expected of university leadership and may violate internal university policies that mandate prudent financial and academic management. Another incorrect approach, which focuses solely on the perceived popularity of a program without a detailed risk analysis, is also professionally unacceptable. Popularity does not inherently equate to sustainability or feasibility. Ignoring potential operational, financial, or academic risks associated with a popular program can lead to significant problems down the line, such as an inability to deliver on promises, faculty overload, or insufficient resources to maintain quality. This demonstrates a lack of foresight and a failure to adhere to best practices in strategic planning and program development. Finally, an approach that relies on anecdotal evidence or the opinions of a few stakeholders without systematic data collection and analysis is insufficient. While stakeholder input is valuable, it should be part of a broader, evidence-based risk assessment. Relying on informal feedback can lead to biased conclusions and the overlooking of critical, systemic risks that might not be apparent to all individuals. This approach lacks the rigor necessary for informed decision-making in an academic and administrative context. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a structured risk management framework. This typically includes risk identification, risk analysis, assessing likelihood and impact, risk evaluation, prioritizing risks, risk treatment, developing mitigation strategies, and risk monitoring and review. Professionals should always seek to gather objective data, consult relevant expertise, and ensure that decisions are transparent and justifiable, aligning with the overarching mission and values of the institution. Question 13. The investigation demonstrates that the Jafara University Admissions Committee is considering several approaches to evaluate applicants for the upcoming academic year. One proposed method involves prioritizing candidates who have achieved the highest scores on a specific standardized entrance examination, while another suggests a holistic review that considers academic transcripts, extracurricular achievements, personal essays, and letters of recommendation. A third option being discussed is to give significant weight to recommendations from current faculty members who may have prior knowledge of the applicants, which approach best aligns with the principles of fair and equitable admissions and demonstrates a commitment to identifying well-rounded individuals for Jafara University. Option A. Focusing primarily on applicants from specific high schools known for strong academic performance. Option B. Conducting a holistic review that considers academic transcripts, extracurricular achievements, personal essays, and letters of recommendation. Option C. Giving significant weight to recommendations from current faculty members who may have prior knowledge of the applicants. Option D. Prioritizing applicants based solely on their scores from a single standardized entrance examination. The correct answer is D. Prioritizing applicants based solely on their scores from a single standardized entrance examination. Explanation: this scenario is professionally challenging because it requires balancing the university's need for efficient resource allocation with the ethical obligation to ensure a fair and transparent admissions process. The admissions committee must make informed decisions based on comprehensive information, avoiding biases that could compromise the integrity of the selection process. Careful judgment is required to identify and mitigate potential risks that could lead to unfair outcomes or reputational damage for Jafara University. The correct approach involves a systematic and objective evaluation of all applicants, considering a broad range of factors beyond just academic scores. This aligns with the principles of fairness and equity expected in any educational institution's admissions policy. By focusing on a holistic review, the committee demonstrates a commitment to identifying candidates who possess the potential to succeed and contribute to the university community, irrespective of their background or any perceived initial disadvantages. This approach is ethically sound, as it promotes equal opportunity and avoids discriminatory practices. An approach that prioritizes applicants based solely on their scores from a single standardized test fails to acknowledge the multifaceted nature of academic potential and personal attributes. This is ethically problematic as it can disadvantage students who may excel in other areas or have faced unique challenges that impacted their test performance. It also risks overlooking candidates with strong leadership qualities, creativity, or resilience, which are valuable assets to any university. Another incorrect approach would be to rely heavily on subjective recommendations without independent verification or a structured framework for evaluation. This opens the door to personal biases and favoritism, undermining the principle of meritocracy. Admissions decisions should be based on verifiable evidence and objective criteria, not solely on the opinions of individuals who may have their own agendas or limited perspectives. A professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve establishing clear, objective, and comprehensive admissions criteria that are communicated transparently to all applicants. This includes defining the weight given to different components of the application, such as academic records, standardized test scores, if applicable, extracurricular activities, personal essays, and recommendations. The committee should then adhere strictly to these criteria during the evaluation process, employing a structured review system that minimizes subjective bias. Regular training for admissions committee members on fair evaluation practices and unconscious bias is also crucial. Finally, a mechanism for reviewing and appealing admissions decisions should be in place to ensure accountability and address any potential procedural errors. Question 14. The analysis reveals that a prospective student preparing for the Jafara University entrance exam has overheard another candidate discussing specific questions from a previous iteration of the exam, implying they have access to leaked materials. The prospective student is aware that possessing or using such information would be a serious breach of the Jafara University entrance exam regulations. What is the most ethically and regulatorily sound course of action for the prospective student? Option A. Report the overheard conversation and the potential breach of exam integrity to the Jafara University examination authorities. Option B. Politely disengage from the conversation and focus solely on their own preparation, assuming the information is unreliable or irrelevant. Option C. Discreetly inquire further into the nature of the leaked materials to assess their potential impact on the exam. Option D. Advise the other candidate that such information is unethical and could lead to disqualification, but otherwise take no further action. The correct answer is B. Politely disengage from the conversation and focus solely on their own preparation, assuming the information is unreliable or irrelevant. Explanation. The analysis reveals a scenario that is professionally challenging due to the inherent conflict between a student's desire for academic success and the university's commitment to academic integrity. Pressure to perform well on entrance exams can lead individuals to consider unethical shortcuts. Careful judgment is required to navigate this situation, prioritizing ethical conduct and adherence to university regulations over immediate personal gain. The correct approach involves a commitment to honesty and integrity, which aligns with the fundamental principles of academic and professional conduct expected by Jafara University. Specifically, this approach upholds the spirit and letter of the Jafara University entrance exam regulations, which implicitly and explicitly prohibit any form of academic dishonesty. By refusing to engage in or condone unethical behavior, the individual demonstrates a strong ethical compass and respect for the examination process. This aligns with the university's objective of admitting students who possess not only academic potential, but also a strong moral character. An incorrect approach that involves sharing exam content before the exam is a direct violation of the Jafara University entrance exam regulations concerning academic integrity and fairness. This action undermines the competitive and merit-based nature of the entrance examination, creating an unfair advantage for some and disadvantaging others. It also compromises the validity of the exam results and the university's reputation. Another incorrect approach, which is to ignore the unethical behavior of a peer, is also professionally unacceptable. While not directly participating in the misconduct, passively allowing it to occur demonstrates a lack of commitment to upholding ethical standards and university regulations. This inaction can be interpreted as tacit approval and contributes to a culture where academic dishonesty is tolerated. It fails to address the breach of trust and fairness inherent in the examination process. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a clear understanding of the relevant regulations and ethical codes. When faced with a potential ethical dilemma, an individual should first identify the core ethical principles at stake, such as honesty, fairness, and integrity. They should then consult the specific rules and guidelines governing the situation. In this case, the Jafara University entrance exam regulations. If unsure, seeking guidance from a trusted authority, such as an exam proctor or university administrator, is advisable. The decision should prioritize adherence to these regulations and ethical principles, even if it means forgoing a perceived personal advantage or confronting uncomfortable situations. Question 15. The assessment process reveals that an applicant for Jafara University's entrance examination has encountered a study guide circulating online that claims to contain actual past examination questions and answers, along with a separate, unofficial document allegedly offering advanced insights into specific topics that will be emphasized. The applicant is unsure whether to utilize these materials, as they are not officially sanctioned by the university. What is the most appropriate course of action for the applicant? Option A. Immediately contact the Jafara University Examination Board to inquire about the authenticity and permissibility of using the unofficial study guide and advanced insights. Option B. Disregard the unofficial materials entirely and focus solely on the officially provided syllabus and recommended reading list. Option C. Reach out to a known faculty member at Jafara University to ask for their opinion on the unofficial materials and if they can offer any preferential guidance. Option D. Discreetly use the unofficial study guide and advanced insights to prepare, assuming they will provide a competitive edge. The correct answer is A. Immediately contact the Jafara University Examination Board to inquire about the authenticity and permissibility of using the unofficial study guide and advanced insights. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge because it requires an applicant to demonstrate not only foundational knowledge, but also an understanding of ethical conduct and adherence to the specific regulatory framework governing university entrance examinations at Jafara University. The challenge lies in identifying the most appropriate and ethically sound response when faced with a situation that could be perceived as an attempt to gain an unfair advantage. Careful judgment is required to distinguish between legitimate preparation and unethical shortcuts, ensuring the integrity of the assessment process. The correct approach involves acknowledging the university's stated policy on academic integrity and seeking clarification directly from the official examination board. This demonstrates a commitment to fair play and respect for the established rules. Specifically, it aligns with the Jafara University's presumed commitment to a merit-based selection process, where all candidates are expected to prepare using approved materials and methods. By seeking clarification, the applicant proactively addresses a potential ethical gray area, ensuring their actions are compliant and transparent. This proactive communication is a cornerstone of professional integrity in academic and professional settings. An incorrect approach of directly contacting a faculty member for advanced or preferential information fails because it bypasses the official channels established for examination procedures. This action could be interpreted as an attempt to gain an unfair advantage, violating the principle of equal opportunity for all candidates. It undermines the integrity of the Jafara University's entrance examination process, which is designed to be objective and fair. Another incorrect approach of using unofficial study guides that claim to contain guaranteed questions is also professionally unacceptable. This suggests a reliance on potentially unreliable or unethical sources that may compromise the applicant's understanding of the actual curriculum and could lead to disciplinary action if discovered. It demonstrates a lack of trust in the official examination materials and a willingness to engage in practices that circumvent the intended assessment. The professional reasoning process for similar situations should involve a clear understanding of the governing regulations and ethical guidelines. When faced with ambiguity or a potential ethical dilemma, professionals should always 1. Consult official documentation and policies. 2. Seek clarification from the appropriate authorities through official channels. 3. Prioritize transparency and fairness in all actions. 4. Avoid any behavior that could be construed as seeking or providing an unfair advantage. Question 16. To address the challenge of preparing for the Jafara University entrance exam, a prospective student feels overwhelmed by the perceived difficulty of the material and is concerned about their ability to perform adequately. They are considering various options to improve their chances of admission. Which of the following actions best aligns with the regulatory framework and ethical guidelines expected of applicants to Jafara University? Option A. Seeking assistance from an external party during the exam to obtain answers to questions. Option B. Offering a financial incentive to a university staff member to gain an advantage in the admissions process. Option C. Completing the exam without seeking any further clarification or expressing concerns, and accepting the outcome regardless of performance. Option D. Contacting the Jafara University admissions office to express concerns about the exam's difficulty and inquire about available preparatory resources or alternative assessment considerations. Correct answer is D. Contacting the Jafara University admissions office to express concerns about the exam's difficulty and inquire about available preparatory resources or alternative assessment considerations. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent conflict between a student's desire for academic advancement and the university's commitment to academic integrity and fair assessment. The pressure to perform well on entrance exams can lead individuals to consider unethical shortcuts. Careful judgment is required to uphold the principles of honesty and fairness that are fundamental to any educational institution. The correct approach involves a direct and honest communication with the university admissions office regarding the student's concerns about the exam's difficulty and their preparedness. This aligns with the Jafara University's regulatory framework, which implicitly emphasizes honesty and transparency in the admissions process. By seeking clarification and expressing concerns through official channels, the student demonstrates integrity and respect for the established procedures. This proactive communication allows the university to address potential issues with the exam or provide appropriate guidance, thereby upholding academic standards and ensuring a fair evaluation for all applicants. An incorrect approach would be to seek external assistance during the exam. This directly violates the Jafara University's guidelines on academic integrity, which prohibit any form of cheating or unauthorized assistance. Such an action undermines the validity of the examination process and is a serious ethical breach. Another incorrect approach would be to attempt to bribe or influence an examiner. This is not only a severe ethical violation, but also likely contravenes specific regulations within the Jafara University's charter or student conduct policies that address corruption and misconduct. Such an action would have severe consequences for the applicant and potentially for the university staff involved. A third incorrect approach would be to withdraw from the exam without any communication. While not as overtly unethical as cheating or bribery, this fails to address the underlying concerns and misses an opportunity for constructive engagement with the university. It does not uphold the principle of transparency and can be seen as an avoidance of responsibility. The professional decision-making process for similar situations should involve a clear understanding of the university's rules and ethical expectations. When faced with a challenge, the first step is to identify the core issue and its potential ethical implications. Then explore all available avenues for addressing the issue within the established regulatory framework. This typically involves seeking clarification, expressing concerns through appropriate channels, and acting with honesty and integrity. If a situation appears to violate ethical principles or university regulations, it is crucial to avoid any actions that could be construed as misconduct and instead pursue a path of open and honest communication. Question 17. The review process indicates that during the Jafara University entrance exam, a candidate observes another applicant discreetly using unauthorized notes. The observing candidate is aware that such actions are strictly prohibited by the exam regulations and could lead to disqualification. Option A. Report the observed misconduct to the examination invigilator immediately and discreetly. Option B. Confront the cheating student directly to demand they cease their actions. Option C. Discreetly offer the cheating student a chance to stop their actions without reporting. Option D. Ignore the observed misconduct to avoid potential conflict or involvement. The correct answer is A. Report the observed misconduct to the examination invigilator immediately and discreetly. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent conflict between a student's desire to excel and the university's commitment to academic integrity. The pressure to perform well on entrance exams can lead individuals to consider unethical shortcuts. Careful judgment is required to navigate this situation in a manner that upholds the principles of fairness and honesty, which are foundational to Jafara University's academic environment. The correct approach involves prioritizing academic integrity and reporting the observed misconduct. This aligns with the Jafara University's entrance exam regulations, which likely stipulate strict rules against cheating and require candidates to act honestly. By reporting the incident, the student upholds the principle of fairness to all other candidates who are undertaking the exam legitimately. This action also demonstrates a commitment to the ethical standards expected of future university students, ensuring a level playing field and the validity of the examination process. An incorrect approach would be to ignore the observed cheating. This failure to act would implicitly condone the unethical behavior, undermining the integrity of the examination and potentially allowing an unqualified candidate to gain admission. This directly violates the spirit and likely the letter of Jafara University's regulations concerning academic honesty and fair play. Another incorrect approach would be to confront the other student directly during the exam. While seemingly proactive, this could disrupt the examination environment for other candidates, potentially leading to accusations of misconduct against the observer themselves, and may not effectively resolve the issue of the cheating student's unfair advantage. It bypasses the established reporting mechanisms designed to handle such situations impartially and efficiently. A third incorrect approach would be to offer assistance to the cheating student. This is a direct violation of academic integrity principles and Jafara University's regulations. It constitutes complicity in cheating and would have severe consequences for both individuals involved, including disqualification from the exam and potential disciplinary action. The professional reasoning process for similar situations should involve 1. Identifying the ethical conflict and potential violations of regulations. 2. Consulting relevant university entrance exam guidelines and codes of conduct. 3. Prioritizing adherence to academic integrity and fairness. 4. Utilizing the designated reporting channels for academic misconduct. 5. Avoiding direct confrontation or involvement that could compromise the examination process or oneself. Question 18. What factors determine the ethical permissibility of a candidate's actions when preparing for and taking the Jafara University entrance exam, particularly when faced with opportunities for academic dishonesty? Option A. The potential benefit gained from achieving a higher score through unauthorized means. Option B. Adherence to the Jafara University entrance exam regulations and the principles of academic integrity. Option C. The likelihood of being caught engaging in dishonest practices. Option D. The perceived difficulty of the exam and the candidate's personal desire to be admitted. The correct answer is B. Adherence to the Jafara University entrance exam regulations and the principles of academic integrity. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge due to the inherent conflict between a student's desire for academic success and the university's commitment to academic integrity. The pressure to perform well on a crucial entrance exam can lead individuals to consider unethical shortcuts. Careful judgment is required to navigate this situation, upholding ethical principles while respecting the university's regulations. The correct approach involves prioritizing academic integrity and adhering strictly to the Jafara University entrance exam regulations. This means refraining from any form of academic dishonesty, including seeking unauthorized assistance or using prohibited materials. The justification lies in the fundamental ethical principles of honesty and fairness, which are paramount in any academic setting. The Jafara University entrance exam regulations, by their very nature, are designed to ensure a level playing field and to assess a candidate's genuine knowledge and aptitude. Violating these regulations undermines the credibility of the examination process and the value of the qualification obtained. An incorrect approach would be to seek or accept assistance from a friend who has already taken the exam and claims to have the questions. This is a direct violation of academic integrity and the specific rules of the Jafara University entrance exam, which implicitly or explicitly prohibit sharing exam content before or during the examination period. Such an action constitutes cheating and would lead to severe penalties, including disqualification from the exam and potential blacklisting from future admissions. Another incorrect approach would be to use unauthorized notes or study materials during the exam, even if the intention is merely to double-check a few answers. This is also a clear breach of exam regulations. The Jafara University entrance exam rules typically specify what materials are permitted and what are not. Bringing prohibited items into the examination hall, regardless of their use, is an act of academic misconduct. A third incorrect approach would be to attempt to bribe a proctor or invigilator for access to exam content or for preferential treatment. This is not only a severe violation of academic integrity, but also a criminal offense. It corrupts the entire examination system and demonstrates a profound lack of ethical understanding. The professional decision-making process in such situations should involve a clear understanding of the Jafara University entrance exam regulations and a strong commitment to ethical conduct. When faced with temptation or pressure, a professional should 1. Recognize the ethical dilemma. 2. Consult the relevant regulations and codes of conduct. 3. Prioritize honesty and integrity above all else. 4. Seek guidance from trusted university officials or mentors if unsure about the appropriate course of action. 5. Refuse any offer or temptation that compromises academic integrity. Question 19. Quality control measures reveal a pattern of ambiguous wording in several questions on the recent Jafara University entrance examination, potentially leading to misinterpretation by candidates. The faculty member responsible for reviewing these results is considering sharing their observations and suggested rephrasing directly with colleagues in other departments who will be administering the next exam cycle, believing this will expedite improvements. Option A. Immediately share the identified ambiguities and proposed rephrasing with colleagues in other departments to ensure they are aware of the issues for the next exam cycle. Option B. Make unilateral revisions to the examination questions based on the perceived ambiguities and distribute them to relevant departments for their consideration. Option C. Disregard the ambiguities, assuming they are minor and unlikely to significantly impact candidate performance, and focus on other aspects of the review process. Option D. Report the observed ambiguities and suggest rephrasing to the Jafara University Examination Committee through the established feedback channel, awaiting their formal review and approval before any changes are implemented for future examinations. The correct answer is D. Report the observed ambiguities and suggest rephrasing to the Jafara University Examination Committee through the established feedback channel, awaiting their formal review and approval before any changes are implemented for future examinations. Explanation. This scenario presents a professional challenge because it requires an individual to balance the immediate need for information with the ethical and regulatory obligations to protect sensitive data. The Jafara University entrance exam framework emphasizes academic integrity and fair assessment practices. Misusing or improperly disclosing examination materials, even for seemingly benign reasons like improving future exam quality, can undermine the validity of the assessment process and violate established university policies. The correct approach involves adhering strictly to the university's established procedures for handling examination materials. This means reporting the discovery of potential errors or areas for improvement through official channels, such as the examination committee or the relevant academic department. This process ensures that any feedback is reviewed systematically and that changes to future examinations are made in a controlled and authorized manner, thereby upholding the integrity of the entrance exam. This aligns with the Jafara University's commitment to fair and transparent admissions. An incorrect approach would be to directly share the identified errors or potential improvements with other faculty members or departments outside of the formal review process. This bypasses established protocols and could lead to the premature or unauthorized disclosure of examination content. Such an action risks compromising the security of current and future examinations, potentially creating an unfair advantage for some candidates or devaluing the assessment. It also violates the trust placed in individuals responsible for exam administration and development. Another incorrect approach is to ignore the identified issues, assuming they are minor. This failure to act can perpetuate flaws in the examination, leading to continued inaccuracies or biases that could unfairly impact future applicants. It demonstrates a lack of diligence and a disregard for the university's commitment to providing a high-quality and equitable assessment. The professional decision-making process in such situations should involve a clear understanding of the university's policies regarding examination security and academic integrity. When an issue is identified, the professional should first assess its potential impact. Then, they must consult the relevant university guidelines or supervisors to determine the appropriate reporting mechanism. The priority is always to maintain the integrity of the examination process and to act in accordance with established ethical and regulatory frameworks. Question 20. The risk matrix shows that unauthorized access to examination materials is a high likelihood, high-impact risk for the Jafara University entrance exam. Which of the following is the most appropriate next step in the risk management process? Option A. Develop and implement robust security protocols for the storage and distribution of examination materials, including access controls and encryption. Option B. Document the risk as identified and await further instructions from the university administration. Option C. Assume that existing security measures are sufficient and no further action is required. Option D. Focus on mitigating risks with lower likelihood as they are less likely to occur. The correct answer is A. Develop and implement robust security protocols for the storage and distribution of examination materials, including access controls and encryption. Explanation. This scenario is professionally challenging because it requires balancing the need to identify potential risks with the practical limitations of resources and the specific regulatory expectations of Jafara University's entrance examination process. The university's guidelines likely emphasize a thorough yet efficient risk assessment to ensure the integrity and fairness of the exam, without creating undue administrative burdens. Careful judgment is required to prioritize risks that pose the most significant threat to the examination's objectives. The correct approach involves proactively identifying potential risks to the examination's integrity and fairness, categorizing them based on their likelihood and impact using a risk matrix, and then developing appropriate mitigation strategies. This aligns with the Jafara University entrance exam's implied commitment to a robust and well-managed assessment process. Regulatory and ethical justification stems from the university's responsibility to uphold academic standards and provide a fair testing environment for all applicants. A systematic risk assessment is a fundamental component of good governance and operational management in educational institutions, ensuring that potential disruptions or unfair advantages are minimized. An incorrect approach that focuses solely on identifying risks without any attempt to prioritize or mitigate them fails to meet the practical requirements of risk management. It creates an exhaustive list of potential problems without providing a clear path forward, leading to inaction and potentially allowing significant risks to materialize. This would be a failure to implement a functional risk management framework, as expected by the university. Another incorrect approach that involves ignoring risks that are perceived as minor, even if they have a high likelihood of occurring, is also professionally unacceptable. Jafara University entrance exam guidelines would expect a comprehensive consideration of all identified risks, regardless of perceived severity, as even seemingly small issues can escalate or collectively undermine the examination's credibility. This demonstrates a lack of diligence and a failure to adhere to the principle of comprehensive risk identification. A third incorrect approach that relies solely on historical data without considering new or emerging risks would be insufficient. While past performance can inform risk assessment, the educational landscape and examination methods can evolve. The university would expect a forward-looking approach that anticipates new threats, such as technological vulnerabilities or changes in applicant behavior, rather than a purely retrospective analysis. This would represent a failure to adapt risk assessment to current realities. Professionals should employ a decision-making framework that begins with understanding the specific objectives of the Jafara University entrance exam. This involves clearly defining what constitutes a successful and fair examination. Next, they should systematically brainstorm potential risks that could jeopardize these objectives. Following this, a risk matrix should be utilized to assess the likelihood and impact of each identified risk. Based on this assessment, mitigation strategies should be developed and prioritized, focusing on high-priority risks first. Finally, a plan for ongoing monitoring and review of risks and mitigation effectiveness should be established.